I can pick you up when you're heading down. When it all just sucks, I'll be your Charlie Brown. You can make me laugh.
Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd. So it's my friends over at Joann.com. We have the Happy Camper Crochet Dog Coat available in 4 sizes from small all the way to extra large. So we have a great pattern here using the Karen Colorama Ogo, and we're going to be doing color play today. So we are going to strategize the color as per this. What I've done as well is that I've created an extra worksheet for you that you can find on this video. You can also find it on the crochetcrowd.com for this particular pattern as well. And it's an extra sheet that I created because I've done something like this in the past and I got confused. So my goal here as part of a tutorial host is to try to simplify the steps so that you can see the steps a lot more easier than sometimes it's written in the pattern. Nothing wrong with the pattern, it's just sometimes I just need that extra help. So what we have here is a beautiful pattern here. You can see that here is the color strategy. There is a striping pattern. So every 2 rows is the same color, and you're gonna see all the way from A to I. So they're in different orders here. So when you look at the beginning here, you'll see that there is an alphabet that has been assigned to your Ogo. There's Baha and there's First Blush. Now for the sizes from small to large is 1 Ogo each of the colors, and then extra large is 2 Ogos, and that's kind of a lot of fun. So what I decided to do for myself is that I decided to break apart the colors. So it's called color play when you go to do that, and so we've done that. So what I'm gonna play for you now is how to open your Ogo and also how to separate the colors out, and I'll show you what my strategy is behind the scenes. So let's open our Ogo, and what you want to do is put your hands in behind and see this hole. You want to just use your fingers and just push those flaps up, and the top will peel, and you're just gonna pull back, and it is sticky right in the midpoint, and you're just gonna pull, and there is your Ogo. One thing that you should know is that the colors are equal length all the way around, but they don't always start at the exact same spot. So a part of the color may be over on the other part of the side. So we want to take it out just like that, put that aside, and you want to pull like this, and this will reveal a plastic tie that is in between. So taking your scissors, and that will open it, and then grab that tie and pull, and that will take that out. So that's what's holding it as a ring. So you can see that this color here is also on this side. So when you start your idea, you may want to start at a particular point if you want the entire color sequence. So if you wanted to start with this color and not this color, all you have to do is that you just have to reach in with your fingertips and just pull like this, and just kind of hold the colors, and you'll see that the Ogos will split apart like this. So if you want to do color play, that's exactly how you do it, and there is the color transition change right there. You can snip it and then begin at this point, and therefore you have a fresh color of this, and when this comes back into play later, you can bring it back around and have the Ogo finish. So the way that this is wrapped is really quite fabulous, but it also allows you to change colors. So if you want to change any order of anything, just separate it and then just use it, and they recommend that you put it into a plastic Ziploc bag if you want to, but if you crochet as fast as I do, I just get a salad bowl, just put all 5 pieces into the salad bowl, and that's something that I would do for myself. My strategy behind the scenes is to use the alphabet here that's been assigned. So for the first blush it's A, B, C, D, and E, and then the other one is these. So what I did is that I separated the particular colors out, and then I put a little label on, and this has the label A, and I've attached it to the outside here. I find with the Ogos that you can either use it from the outside or you can use it from the inside. So what I've done here is that I put it into salad bowls on the off to the side of the camera. So the order that I put it into the bowls matches the stripe pattern. Let me show you. So I have 2 bowls going on the side. This is one Ogo here, and the colors are already separated, and when I separated the colors I literally did label up each one so that I could be able to reference it later just in case I need to. So I looked at it and said H, and so I put it in to the bowl in the order that will appear. So as I'm working through this, I'll work through the first one and then the second, and so on and so on and so on, and once I've got that striping pattern done, I just jump to the next bowl, and the next bowl are these colors here. So that's what I'm gonna be doing today, and that's my goal, and today we're gonna get started on this dog coat. So let's talk a little bit more about it, and let's begin. So one thing that I love about Yarn Inspirations, there's many things to love, but one thing I really do like is that what they have here is that it's called color play with the sizes. So you can see that the small is in this color, medium is this, and so on. So in the instructions what they do, and this is on relatively the new patterns over the last few years, is that whenever there's a decision to be made in the pattern, it says, for example, repeat the second row 24, 30, 36, or 42. So what size are you going to use? So you just match the color together. So you can just look at it. So if you're doing the small, it's 24, medium is 30, 36 is large, and extra large is 42. So whenever there's a decision to be made, you will always see that there's a difference here. So you don't have to use every number that you see. And what I do highly recommend for you, if you're choosing a size that is kind of in the middle, that is not always easy to tell. So what I like to do in advance is that, let's just say I'm gonna do the medium today. So what I'll do is I'll circle, and even though there's color play, when I circle it, it just makes it a lot easier. So I'm just gonna circle those, and that's something that I would do if you weren't watching me, so that I won't get confused, because I know myself. I know, a lot going on in my head. So that's something that you can decide to do for yourself if you wish, and that's what I would do to get started. So we're going to work through this pattern sequentially, but there is a striping pattern that we have. So you work through the striping, but there's also a texture pattern. So let's talk about that. So you will notice that the dog coat, I'm not sure what size this one is here that is on the model here, but what we have is that every 2 rows is one color. So you're just gonna work through your striping pattern in order to make sense of that. And so even if you're jumping over to create the holes, you're going to create that striping pattern so that it looks like it flows, and that's something that can be done really quite easily. So it's a combination of half double crochet and slip stitching, and I know what you're thinking, slip stitching, are you serious? The reality is that this is a chunky weight number 5 yarn, and so even though there's slip stitching involved, you get this beautiful texture, and it still grows pretty quickly as well. So let's take a look at the texture that we're going to be getting involved with today. And I told you in the introduction that I got confused with a dog coat like this in the past, and I really did go off the rails. And it doesn't take much for me. So when there is this particular kind of concept, we have the slip stitch, half double crochet, slip stitch, and half double crochet, and when you do the next row, the half double crochet sits on top of the slip stitch sits on top of the half double crochet, and it puzzles together. So it will look like this when there's no increase in the texture. So you just gotta keep on remembering that the texture of this is just matching. Where I got confused the most is in the increase and the decrease. So when we're doing an increase, when we start up, we chain up 1 and we put 2 single crochets in the first one, and then we just pick up the texture. So there's a half sitting on a slip sitting on a half, and go all the way to the end, and then the very final one has 2 single crochets on the half. When you start the next row, then it's 2 into the first one, and then 1 into the single, or 1 half double crochet in the single, and then slip into the half, and etc. So if you can see it from this perspective, it's a lot easier, but the decrease is actually really even more simple, because it's just the same thing of just the repeating of the rows. So it's just a matter of putting the first two together and then picking up the texture. So if you feel like you're going wrong, you're probably not going wrong, but just keep an eye on the texture, because we're gonna be using that throughout this whole thing to create the consistent look. So I think that's it for now. So let's get ourselves involved, and hopefully separate your ogos, and then put me on pause now. And if you really want to use your ogos just as is and not worry about the color play, you can do that as well. There are solid color ogos just in case that you're interested in that. So I'm gonna give you that option. So it's a 6mm size J crochet hook in order to play today, and we are going to be using the Karen Colorama ogo. So let's begin. So what we have here is we're gonna start off with the neck ribbing. We're gonna chain 4 with the color A, and we're just going to single crochet in the first that we have, and so there will only be 3 stitches. Really, that's how easy it's gonna be. And then we're going to just work on the back loops only with 1 stitch into each, and we're gonna repeat the second row a set number of times, and you'll do it by the size you're gonna work with. So please substitute this information for whatever size you are. I'm gonna commit to the medium size here, because that seems like that makes sense for me. So let's begin and start the neck ribbing. So let's create the neck ribbing with your 6mm size J crochet hook and create a slip knot. This is classified as an easy level project. So if you're determined, you can do it. So I need you to chain 4 to start. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. And now let's begin row number 1. To have the nicest look, if you just crochet on the back hump, so second chain from the hook and crochet on the back hump going across, you're just gonna one single crochet in each, and that will give you a total count of 3 single crochets across. So you know that this is gonna be really quick once you get moving on it. Then turn your work and let's begin row number 2. So for row number 2 you're just gonna chain up 1, and if you're new to crochet there's always 2 strands that make up a stitch. If you go in both, that's a stitch. If you choose the strand that's closest to you, that's the front loop, and if you choose the strand that's away from you, that's called the back loop, so you dive in. So that's where we want to place. So after you've chained 1, just go into the back loop of each of the stitches going across, and this is row number 2. It's gonna be very easy to count these rows once you get moving. So to continue along, you're just going to repeat row number 2 for either 24, 30, 36 or 42 times depending on your size. So it's very easy to count that. So I just need you to finish the number of times you have to do it. So just chain up 1, continue in the back loop as you go, and then just meet me back here when you have the number of repeats started. So when you're going to count this, it's really easy to be able to count, and I'll show you that in a second. So when you're looking at it from this perspective, see this, how it raises up like that? That's 2, and then this is 4, and so on. So if you can identify how that looks, it makes your life a lot easier. I'll see you back here in just a few moments, and you can continue that, and we'll pick up from there and at that time. So I now have my ribbing done. Just took me a few moments here, and what we have here is that I have a total of 32 rows. So if you have to repeat the row 24, 30, 36 or 42 times, remember that you already did 2 rows. So you'll technically have either 26 rows, 32, 38 or 44. So what I want to do then is now I'm gonna use the same color, and we're going to work our way across just like so in order to have it nicely balanced. So let's now start the body of the first row. What I like to do for myself is that I like to put in a stitch marker halfway through the band. So what I'm going to do is just fold it exactly in half. So you can use a stitch marker or a spare piece of yarn, and I want to put in a stitch marker right at the halfway point. So my goal when we start the body of the first row, we have to equally space either 27, 33, 39 or 45 stitches all the way across. So it helps you to be able to work your way across and just divide that number roughly by half. So if I gotta do 33, I'm gonna say that I'm going to do 16 on one side, and then I'll do 17 on the other side. So it helps me to be able to space it out, because if you start just equally spacing and you get like 3/4 and you run out of stitches, it means that you gotta frog all the way backwards, which means to pull out. So if you can get yourself and look at this and say, okay, well, I'm gonna get the first 16 in here, and then count 17 here, I can get to the amount that I need for the 33. So you can do that with your sizes. So you can either do 27 across, 39 or 45, and that would be my strategy in order to do that. So let's begin to do that, and this is the first row. So right where I left off is where I'm going to start. So you're gonna chain up 1, and you're going to equally space out the number of stitches. So it's 27, 33, 39 or 45. Consider my idea there to make it a lot easier. So I'm just gonna show you how I'm gonna do it. So I'm just gonna come into the first one and say there's 1. So I want to get 16 in before by the time I get there. So if that's 1, I'm gonna do 2, I'm gonna do 3, 4, 5, 13 and 14. So I got 14 there. I should have got to 16, so that means that I rushed it. Okay, see how it's buckling up as well? It means that I'm going too fast across. So I want to leave this in the tutorial because this is important. Okay, so I'm gonna start again right from the scratch and try again. So that's what I want your strategy to be, is to test yourself and make sure that you can do it right. So we have 1, 2, 3, 15 and 16. So I got my 16 in there. I have a bit of experience with that. So now I want to get 17 in from this point onward. So if I'm miscounting, I just have to frog back to this point here to get my 17 in, but now that you've done it halfway, you probably got a good idea. So please finish all the way across so that you have the exact number, and double count your counts before you're finishing, and we're gonna carry on. So this is still the first row of the body. So in my case, I now have 33 stitches all the way across. I double counted. So before you carry on, before you turn the project, I want you to remove that stitch marker out, and I want you to use it in a different way. So if you pull this strand so it comes to this side like this, every time you see this strand falling out on this side, this is the right side of the project. It matters. So when you turn it over and you do not see the straggler hanging out, that means that it's the wrong side. So when we're referencing this going back and forth in the rows, it's really important to know what is the right side. So let's continue to row number 2, and this will be the end of this particular color, and we will not use this color again until we do the legs and then the final trim. So let's begin the second row. So to begin the second row, you just have to go across, and you're just gonna chain up 1 and 1 single crochet all the way across. So we're not starting the texture yet. So by doing what I'm doing right now, you're allowing that ribbing to go in, and then any imperfections that you may have had and where you joined it to the ribbing is really well hidden because the color is still the same. So it's a really kind of cheating technique. I'm also gonna give you a recommendation for that when you finish any of these color stripes, I want you to leave a longer strand that's attached that you can throw it through a tapestry needle so that you can have the best join ever possible, and that's something that we will cover as well. And we're going to be starting with the striping of the pattern in the first row in just a moment. So I'm gonna show you how to finish off a row. So I'm just coming all the way across, and this is the end of this particular color. What I want you to do at the end of this, we're gonna deal with all of our tails at the end of the project. I find it when we go to actually put it together, and what we're going to do is we're just gonna keep going rows and back and forth on the rows, so we don't actually go in a circle like you see it on the dog until we attach it at the end. So trim this long enough so that you can get this into a tapestry needle, so that when you go to be able to finish this, you can use that same strand to be able to put it together and use that to attach it together so that the colors appear seamless. So right where I just finished is right here, and that's where we're gonna start, and we're gonna pick up on the first row of the striping of the pattern using the color H. So we're now gonna pick up in the striping pattern. So it says to start with the color H, but you don't see a reference color because the pattern striping is now beginning, and this here from H all the way to I is the pattern stripe. So the A is only ever used in the neck and in the legs and the final trim. So if you have to repeat the pattern in order to the color pattern, you just go from H all the way to I, and then once you finish I, you come back to H again. So what we're going to do is, it's not gonna suggest in the third row to change the color, but you have to change every 2 rows. So let's begin the first row of the striping pattern. So let's begin the first row, and this is going to come into the very beginning. So the first stitch that we're going to do is just gonna be a slip stitch. So this is that texture pattern that I referenced. So you're just gonna slip, and that's all you have to do, and then you're gonna move to the next one, and you're going to repeat the texture pattern going forward. So the next one is a half double crochet, and if you go over top of the straggler here, it'll trap itself underneath, so it'll be out of your hair. So just I would do about 2 inches. So then you'll slip stitch in the next, and then you'll half double crochet in the next, and that's all you're gonna do. That's what this texture pattern is. And so because it's chunky yarn, it still grows quite nicely. So I want you to keep doing the striping pattern, or sorry, this texture pattern all the way across. It doesn't matter what size you're working on, you will end up with the same stitch combination when you get over there. Okay, so please do that all the way across, and meet me on the second row in just a moment. So as I'm getting all the way across, the very last stitch should be exactly the same stitch that you started with. So if we started with a slip stitch, the last stitch should be a slip stitch like that. I would scan over this and make sure that the stitches look right. This pattern combination, when you do something like this, it looks, you can't correct it very easy without it being noticeable. So just scan your eyes over it, and once you get used to this texture pattern, it becomes really quite secondhand. Moving to your next project and not doing it is sometimes the challenge. So let's begin the second row, and it's the second time we're using this color, so that's all we're going to be doing for this color, and we're going to start second row now. So second row, as we begin, the chain 2 at the beginning of the row does not count as a stitch, so don't count that when you go to count it in the future. We know that the one below is a slip stitch, so this must be a half double crochet that is in this. So just remember that. It's just the opposite to what you see underneath. This here, see how it's built up? That's a half double crochet, so this time it's a slip stitch. The next one, you see it's a slip. There's not much to it, so it's gotta be a half. And so you're just going to just go between the two stitches of either doing halves or slips, and it's every other one just like that. So please go over this. This is row number 2. As I'm coming up to the end of number 2, the very last stitch that is in here is a slip stitch, so therefore it must finish with a half double crochet, and that's what we started with anyway. So that's gonna be it for this color. This is the end of row number 2. And so again, leave a long enough strand so that you can use that to put it together at the end. Okay, so when it comes around like this, you can use that color to join it, therefore it'll look seamless. Let's turn our work and begin row number 3. So row number 3, we're gonna start with our next color, and it's the color B as in Bob, and I'm at the top of the half double crochet. That's where I ended, and that's where I'm gonna start this one, row number 3. And I'm going to attach, and we're going to do an increase now. We're gonna start getting bigger. So attach it with a slip stitch, and in the very first stitch you want to apply chain 1 first, and then 2 single crochets into the first stitch, so then it creates an increase. So it states in the pattern that the next one has to be a half double crochet, but I can tell that. Do you see the difference? This is a short stitch. This has got more to it. So this is a half, or this is a slip stitch, so this must start off with a half double crochet, and then the next one, see how it's puffy? That's a slip stitch. So if you can identify how it looks, you'll make your life a lot easier. So this is a short stitch, so it has to be a half this time, and the next one is a half, therefore it has to be a slip. So you're gonna just go all the way to the end, and I'll meet you there in a moment because we're still gonna increase on the other side as well, and I'll be back in just a moment. So I'm coming to the end of number 3. So the next one is a half, and then the very last stitch here, there's going to be 2 single crochets. So 1 and 2. So that's your increase there. So now you're gonna turn your work, and rows number 4 and 5 are going to be the repeat then for a certain amount of times, and what I'm going to do is that 4 is gonna use this color, but then we have to change because we're only doing 2 rows of the color, and then 5 I'll show you that as well, so you can keep in sequence with the pattern. So let's begin row number 4. So this is the start of number 4. You're gonna chain up 1, and in the very first stitch you will apply 2 single crochets. Now it states that the next stitch that you'll have will be a half double crochet. Can you tell that was a half double crochet? This is a shorter stitch. This is a larger stitch. So when you start this one here, it's gonna be a half double crochet, and then because this is a half double crochet here, it's gonna be a slip stitch. If you can tell this, it'll be a lot easier. You see how this is short, so it must be a half, and this one's more to it, so it must be a slip. So please continue to do that all the way across, and then meet me on the other side in just a moment. So I'm coming up to the end of number 4, and can you see what's happening here? So I have a half going in, and that's the second last stitch, and the very last one here is that it's going to be the 2 single crochets. And that was the end of number 4. So this is the end of this color. There's 2 rows in. Let's leave a longer strand so you can deal with later, and turn your work, and we're going to begin the next in sequence, and it's going to be the color E as in elephant. So let's begin row number 5 using the color E, and you're gonna start off in the very first single crochet with the slip stitch, chain 1 and apply 2 single crochets into the same one. So we're still doing an increase there. So can you identify what is next? See how this one's puffy? This one here is like a slip stitch. So the first one there therefore must be a half double crochet, and this one here that has the half double crochet under it must be a slip stitch. And you're just gonna continue to repeat that sequence all the way across. So just keep the sequence going and I'll be back in just a moment to show you how to finish off row number 5. So in keeping with the sequence, the second last stitch is just a half double crochet, and then the last one is 2 single crochets. So now that we finished off number 5, we have a set of instructions that are gonna be sounding confusing, but if you look at the instructions it's really not. For the small, you don't have to do anything further of this. You can now move to the leg openings. For us in the medium size, we have to repeat 4 and 5 one more time, and then we need to do one more row of just working the pattern in an even way. So we're not gonna do an increase at that point. So I will be picking up there because I am doing the medium. For the large size, you repeat 4 and 5 one more time, and then you are going to repeat the row number 4 just one time only, and then you can start with the leg openings. Then for the extra large, you're going to repeat 4 and 5 2 more times, then do the 4th row one more time, and then you can start with the leg openings. So I need you to either not repeat or repeat the set number of times. Just refer to the pattern, and I'm going to repeat because I am doing the medium, just 4 and 5 one more time, and then I'm going to be picking up with, it says work one row even in the pattern just for the medium size, and I'll show you that on camera because that's the only one that has to happen. So let's begin to do that in just a moment. For those in the medium size, I've just now completed rows number 4 and 5 just one time as is suggested. The large you will also as well. Then for the extra large you would have had to do this twice. So what I need to do for only the medium size is that we want to work the row even. So we're not gonna do an increase any longer. So as I begin to do this one, to work the row in the even pattern, I have to look at the stitch work. If this here is a half double crochet, that means that there's gonna be a slip stitch on top of it. So therefore this is a half, and so this one has to be a slip stitch when we start. So you just have to look at the texture of the pattern. So you're gonna slip the first one, you're gonna half the next, so you're not increasing any longer, and then you're going to slip and then half, and you're gonna just maintain the stitching pattern all the way across. Okay, so that's work the row even in the pattern. So that's what that means. So I'll be back in just a minute. So as I'm working the row in the even pattern for only the medium size, I'm maintaining with what I already know. So the last stitch must be a slip stitch because that's how we started, right? So this is going to be it, and we're going to move on to the leg openings next. I am going to have to change the color in order to keep the sequencing going, and I'm moving to the color C as in cat. And let's begin to do that next for the leg openings. So as we do the leg openings, we're gonna be starting on the right side. So on my sample, remember how I marked it, so I will know that I've got to turn my work anyway, and right where I finished is where I'm going to be starting anyway, so it's on the right side. So what we have here is that it says the pattern across for the 3, 3, 5 or 7 stitches. So you're gonna repeat the pattern as you know it. So you're gonna have to look at your sample and actually see what the stitch that you need to put in there, and then you're gonna slip stitch across the next 3, 4, 4 or 6 stitches depending on your size. You'll then chain 1 and do the pattern across the next 21, 29, 33 or 35 stitches depending on your size. Slip stitch across the next 3, 4, 4 or 6, and then you'll just do the pattern to the end of the row. So once we do this, we're gonna know exactly where the legs are going to go, and then each one of those sections we're gonna either work 1 or 1.5, 1.5 or 2.5 inches in the pattern to be increasing the size. So you'll need a tape measure for that. So let's begin the leg openings for next row and starting on the right side. So let's begin the leg opening row. The last stitch that we knew was a slip stitch. The next one is then a half double crochet. So what we have here is that when we go to attach this, we're going to attach, and we know that has to be a half double crochet that's sitting there. So when we go to attach it, we're going to just chain 2. that does not count as a stitch, and you're gonna half double crochet in the first one, and that will help you to keep your sequence of your pattern just properly. So it says that you're doing the pattern across for 3, 3, 5 or 7 stitches. So this is 1, and so the next one must be a slip, so there's 2, and then the next one here has to be a half. So in my case I have to do a total of 3 stitches only. So for the large it will be a 5 and 7 for the extra large, and it was 3 also for the small. So now it says to slip stitch either 3, 4, 4 or 6 stitches. So 3 is the small, 4 is the medium and large, and 6 is the extra large. So just slip stitch then the amount of stitches you need. In my case it's gonna be 4, so it's 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so you either had 3, 4 or 6. Once you're ready, then you're going to chain up 1, and it says repeat the pattern across for either 21 stitches, 29, 33 or 35. So it depends on your size. So looking at the pattern here, the next stitch here, you see that's a half double crochet, so it must be then a slip stitch to begin, and then this one here is a slip stitch, so it must be a half. And I need you to do the number of stitches that it's suggesting. So it's either 21, 29, 33 or 35, and I'll be right back in just a moment. So let me work over there and I'll be right back. So I've repeated that sequence for a total of 29 stitches. You could have 21, 33 or 35. Then it says to slip stitch across the same number of stitches that we did before. So in my case it was 4. So it'd either be 3, 4 or 6 depending on your size. So we're just gonna immediately slip stitch. In my case it'll be 4. So this is 2, 3 and 4. And the amount of stitches left should be the same amount of stitches that you started with on the opposite side. So in my case there's only 3 stitches left, so I know my counts are right. And starting with the sequence, see this here is the slip stitch, so the first one must be then a half and then a slip and then a half. I know the sequencing can be kind of confusing. So now we've just now made the openings for the legs, and it's right here and it's also right here. And we're going to then turn our work and begin to do the leg sections, and I would do them all at the same time in order to keep the color sequence as well. So let's review that. So we're going to do all of the sequencing here. We're just going to be building it up. You're not doing any growth at all, so there will not be any increasing. So when you go to start, the very last stitch here was a half double crochet. So therefore when you start this one here, you'll chain, you'll just actually slip stitch, you won't chain. So you'll slip stitch in, and then the next one is a half, and then the next one is a slip stitch, and that completes that. So you don't want to do the ones that you slipped here to get it. So that's gonna be it for this particular color. You've now done the 2 rows. So I want to end that color, and I want to pick up that color again, and I find it's probably gonna be easier for you to do it all at the same time instead of just doing one on its own. Pick up the next one here, and you're going to start here with the very first one. So remember that there was 4 stitches in my case. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first one is right here. So that one was a slip stitch. So when I go to join it, I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm gonna slip, and I'm just gonna match the sequence all the way until it stops right here. So please do that, and I'll be back in just a moment. So I'm coming all across, and I have to stop right here. Remember that there's 4 in my case stitches before you start the opposite side here. So I'm just maintaining what I already see in order to get that to work. Okay, so there was a total of 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's only 3 stitches on the end. So what I'm going to do is just make sure I have a total, and if you want to double count it, it's the same stitch count that you had before. In my case it would have been 29. So you may want to do that just to make sure that you're getting it all right in there, and then you're gonna finish that. You'll pick up the next one here, and then just maintain the sequence that you had in order to make it work, and that's what you need to do. So I'll see you back here in just a second. I want to verify my count. So I verified my count. I have my 29 stitches. Doesn't hurt to double check, and to make sure then I have the last 3 stitches. So this was a half double crochet last time, so therefore it's going to be a slip stitch this time. So just slip it, and then it's a half double crochet in the next. There's only 3 stitches in a row in my case, and then the last one is a slip stitch, and that's all there is to that one. So what I need to do is that I need to maintain now these rows just working its way up until it gets to a certain amount of height. And so in my case it's going to be 1.5 inches. So I want to make sure that there's a 1.5 inches distance, and let's talk about that. So now that we've got our first one in here, remember that everything is made up of 2 rows for the striping. So the next color is gonna go there and then back. So what I would recommend to you is that when you start the next one right here, when you go to turn it, you're just gonna start, you do your 3 stitches and then return back and then finish it off. Then you'll pick up the next one, go all the way across and then all the way back and then fasten off. So you're going to continue to do that until you get to the height that you need, and I'm just gonna pick you up on the next row just to make sure that you understand. So in the last row I had to finish off and cut the yarn as I jumped in each one. That's because it was the last row of a stripe. So this one that I'm about to start is going to be their first row of a stripe. So I'm gonna start up, and the last time was a slip stitch, so therefore this time it has to be a half double crochet. So chain 2 and half double crochet into the first one, and then the next one is a slip stitch, and then the last one of this is going to be a half double crochet. There's only 3 stitches in my case. So because this is a striping of 2 rows, turn your work and immediately just going back. So if the last one is a half double crochet, the first one is a slip stitch, the next one is a half, and then the last one is a slip stitch. And then therefore that's the end of that color. So I know it's kind of inconvenient for the striping, but that's what really makes this quite cute. And so don't cheapen off on the detail unless you want to go with solid colors or decide to do another different colorway. So what you'll do then is then pick up here and then go across and back, and then pick up on the other side and go across and back, and continue to do this until you get that 1.5 inches that you have. One thing that you should be aware that when you go to do your leg openings, you need to end on the right side. So you're gonna crochet, see this? This is the right side up. So when I crochet I want to finish right here, because when we go to start joining the rows we have to be on the wrong side. So each one of the tails on the very last sections here have to be on that side in order to make it work. So that's just something that you have to keep in mind that when you're going to do that. So we're now going to continue then and I'm gonna get this done, and I already have it done here on camera, but I'm going to show you now the joining row. I'm bringing it all back together so that these will be the holes for the legs. So let's start on the wrong side, so I can tell that's on the wrong side, and I'm gonna start on the very beginning one here, and we want to maintain the pattern as we know it. Okay, so the pattern is going to be intact, so I want to join it. So in my case here the middle one is the half double crochet, so therefore that's got to be a slip stitch. So when I start I'm going to chain 2 and then I'm going to slip in, and then the next one is a half double crochet in the slip. Now you have to chain a certain amount, and it will either be chaining 6, 4, 4 or 6. It's the same amount of space that this was. So in my case it was 4, so you chain 4. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. Picking up this one here, you maintain the pattern as you know it. So the last one here is a slip stitch, so therefore this must be a half double crochet to start, and you're going to go all the way across, just maintaining the sequence of the texture. And when you get to the other leg opening you want to chain the same number that you just did and jump on over and maintain it right to the edge. So I'm gonna leave that in your capable hands, and I'll be right back at the end of the row in just a moment. So when I start the next row here we're just going to continue just working our way across. The ones that we did the chains, we just have to keep the sequence going in order to maintain that. So you're just going to look at your project here and determine the stitch work. So in my case I'm starting off with the half double crochet, so I gotta join it first, chain 2 and half double crochet, and then I'm gonna slip into the next. Like that. So I'm just coming to the last one here before the chain. I'm recommending that you use the chain work. I just went around the space, it doesn't look good. So start with there, you have 4 in a row, so if this is a half, the first one must be a slip stitch. Then the next one must be a half. It's right into the chain itself. And then a slip stitch. And then a half. So there's my 4. So you could have a different count depending on the size of your leg. Then this one here is a half. That's where I am. So this was a half, so it means that I'm in sequence. Right? So you want to maintain that as you're going across. So you'll do it the same with the other side, and that's what I would highly recommend. And it looks a lot better to finish it like that than it is to go around the space, especially when it's a different color. So do that, and I'll be at the end of the row in just a moment. So I've now just come all the way across. The sequence is completely intact, which is quite awesome, and that's a matter of just following the pattern as is. So now we want to keep the striping pattern consistent, and we need to work the pattern as far as like the stitch texture just over and over. We're not increasing anymore on the edges, so just keep it up in a straight line, and you need to do it so that it will have the same amount of measurement. So for the small size you'll have 5 inches, so the 5 is be pretty much done at this point. So if it was a small, for my size it's 6.5 inches, that is the medium, and then for the large it's 8 inches, and for the extra large it's 11 inches. So you have a way to go for that size. So continue to maintain the pattern and get to the size that you would like to go. For the small you're ready now to continue onward to the next section of this, but for the rest of us we have to repeat the stitch texture just until we get to the size that we need. And I'll be right back in a moment, and make sure that you finish off on the wrong side. So the wrong side is where you'll finish next. So I now have my set dimensions here. In my case it was 6.5 inches, and we're finishing on the wrong side. So when we go to finish, this is the wrong side, so I'm right here. So I'm going to turn my work, and we're going to shape the back, and the back what we're going to be doing is then beginning to starting to narrow it back down over the back of your dog. So let's begin the first row. So I want you to attach this to the very first one that you started with. So I'm just checking it here, and I want to keep the pattern in sync. So I'm attaching it, and that's one slip stitch. I'm going to slip stitch another and another. So if you're doing the large size or the extra large, you would have slip stitched 5 stitches over. You're now going to maintain the pattern. So this one here is a slip, so therefore it must be a half, and then the next one is a slip. You're going to maintain this all the way over. Now in the small and medium you're going to leave the last 3 stitches empty, and in the large and extra large you'll leave the last 5, and that's where you're going to turn. So please maintain this over and just stop on the amount of stitches you need to leave empty on the other side. I'll be back in a moment. So I've come all the way across. I left my last 3 empty, and I'm going to turn my work. The next row is going to be repeated for the small size 1 time after we do it once, 4 times after we do it once for the medium, 5 times for the large, and then 7 times for the extra large. We're going to do a decreased stitch, which is then in that diagram like I showed you. So to do that you're just going to chain up 1, and you're just going to start with the decrease. So picking up the first one and the next, put it together as 1, as a 2 together, and then maintain the pattern that you see it. So this one here is a slip, and then picking up. Okay, and you're going to do this all the way across, and you'll put the last 2 together. So then you'll repeat the same instruction the set number of times for the size of pattern that you're working with, and I'll be right back in a moment. So on the other side when you come over, the final 2 stitches will be a 2 together single crochet. So now that the 2 are together at the end, I've got to keep maintaining this color sequence if you want it, and I'm just going to finish that color off, and you're going to repeat the last row the set number of times. So it was 1 more time for the small, 4 times for the medium, 5 for the large, and 7 for extra large. So continuing to move along. So I'm keeping in my sequence of my pattern that I'm working with. So I'll start the next color. I'll just show you one more time, just make sure you got it. So you're putting it to the first one, so join it, chain 1, so put the first 2 together, the single crochet 2 together, and then start your sequence. So this is a half here, so it has to be a slip and then a half, and etc. So just maintain your striping and do the number of repeats that you need, and meet me back here in just a moment. So I now just finished the decrease. I had to do it 4 times for my size. Now we have to work the pattern equally across until you get a certain amount of dimensions. For the small, you're looking for 10 inches from the neckline. So you can see I got to go a little bit further. For the medium, you're looking for 12.5 inches. For the large, 15.5 inches, and 21 inches then for the extra large, and you need to finish on the wrong side. So just keep an eye on this. So now what I need you to do is just go back and forth in this thing, and it will square off into a square. You're not going to decrease any stitches or add, and it will just build out and then go to the set amount of inches that you need. And that's where I'm going to pick you up next time, and we're almost done, but we're going to be continuing from that point. So we're going to finish on the wrong side, so keep an eye on the wrong side here. So just keep going back and forth until you get your dimensions. So now I have my 10.5 inches done for my size. So I finished on the wrong side, and I can tell by this. So what I need to do with this section here, so right where we started the decrease is right where we're going to sew the belly together. So it'll be right here and here, and then we're going to leave the back open, and the back opening is going to be here. So what I want to do is that I want to just show you here. So the ones that we're not going to use to join it to the other side, I just need you to weave it in and out of the stitch work with the tapestry needle. This is a wearable, so you want to take your time with this. So with this one here, just weave it into the same color right there, and I want you to do that with all the section that is part of the back here, and then the other part in the belly I'm going to show you what to do with that. So we'll go back and forth a total of 3 times, and then you can safely cut it out. Now once you're joining it with the other one, so I had you leave a little bit of a longer tail, so put that tail in, and in order to have it really looking really cool, you can begin to sew this and only use the same color. So just coming to the other side, this is called the whip stitch, like this. And it takes a little bit more time to do this, but then at least you know the color is exactly the same, and it's really hard to tell where it's sewed together when you're done. So you'll want to do that with all of these little tails that you left. And once you just have that section just sewn in, just have it so it ties onto itself, and then just weave it in and out of the stitch work a total of 3 times. And you'll want to do that all the way to the neckline from this point up. Okay, so I just got one more to do across. So I want you to get rid of all the tail ends at this time, and when we come back then we're going to start then of doing the back edging, and then we're going to move to the leg edging after that. So just weave it in and out 3 times, and then once you're done the one section here, just grab the next strand right here, and then just go across, and then these ones here just weave it in and out of itself and leave it open, and this is part of the back. So please do that now. I'll be back in a moment. So last time I left you I was sewing in. Look, see how if by doing what I did you don't really see a seam line at all. So it looks really quite good and so far, and now we're going to move on to the back edging where we're gonna circle around the back part here. And what we want to do is that we want to just at the seam line just start with the color H again, or sorry, with the color A, and that is going to be your white color to match your trim. So what you want to do with the right side facing out, so the outside of the coat, and I can tell because I still have my stitch marker there, and I'm just gonna equally space out then just putting in a single crochet all the way around. Okay, so just be nice and generous with it. If you put too many in too quickly, then what's gonna happen, it's gonna buckle, and if you are too generous by jumping too far, it will then pull in too much. So you want to just kind of just equally space it as you're going all the way around. So please do this for the back edging. Do not fasten off at the end. We still have one more round to do after we get that done. So just equally space it around the back edge. When you get all the way back around, just go all the way to the end and then slip stitch. Now you have a choice. Some people don't like the reverse single crochet, other people do. So if you don't want to do the reverse single crochet, because I can see people complaining about that because whenever we do it people do, you can just chain up one and just go and do one single crochet around each stitch one more time. But the pattern does say it is a reverse single crochet, which is also known as a crab stitch. So just chain up one single crochet in the first one and then go to the one right before it and loop it and just single crochet going backward, and this will provide a nicer look to it. And because this dog coat already has texture, this is a really nice finishing technique that you'll want to do. So that's up to you on how you want to execute that, and just do that all the way around and I'll meet you at the end of the round in a moment. So coming all the way around, just reversing right to the end. Now the next one is the beginning, and what I like to do with when it comes to this reverse stuff, or reverse single crochet technically, is that I like to pull out that, and notice how I have not joined it yet. I use my tapestry needle to do that. It looks better in my opinion. Okay, so what I want to do is that I want to just feed that through, and I want to go through the stitch work staying to the underside of it, so don't come out to the good side. And when you pull on it, pull enough so that it just kind of pulls it into each other, but not so much that it's buckling. And then once you're good with it, just secure it and do your magic of going back and forth a total of 3 times to get rid of any loose ends. You'll want to do that because I guess I've already said that it's a wearable, so, and then you'll be taking it on and off your dog. Okay, so make sure it's secured nice and tightly. I may gift this one out, so I'm gonna make sure I do it right. And then also secure the beginning one as well. So if you didn't secure it, see how I got it underneath? I can safely cut that one, and that one's good to go. So now we have to continue along with the legs next. You'll do both legs the same, and what you want to do is that I would stay on the underside of the dog. So this is right between the legs, so that you don't end up with a seam line on the outside. Okay, so I would stay right there. Now starting off, you need to, for the small size, do only 12 stitches around, 14 for the medium, 20 for the large, and 28 for the extra large. So just going in, just equally space it around like you did with the outside edge, and get the same stitch count. So you can do, so I got 1, and equally space it out, and 2, 13, and 14. So I got my 14, slip stitch then. Now what you want to do is the next round a total of 3 times. So just chain up 1 and do 1 single crochet in each of the stitches around, and you're gonna do that a total of 3 times. Just join it when you get back around, and then I need you to do the same with the other leg, and it's starting on the inside of the coat and doing the same thing. So please do that, and I'll meet you back right here in just a moment. So now that my legs are done, I have everything fastened off, just back and forth the weaving into the ends, and now it's time for the mohawk kind of look at the back. So it's the back fringe. So the back fringe is made up of 3 strands. So let's just, and it matches the color. So if you can start with your first color in the sequence, and it's a total of 10 inches. Now is the length. Now my particular sample here, if you remember, it was 10.5 inches. So all I would have to do is that you can measure it to your sample if you want to, or grab a tape measure. So just grab that if you want to. You can measure it out, and if it's a little bit more, it's okay. So then you just hold it, and then you'll fold it like this, and then you'll pinch it again and fold, and therefore those are the 3 strands of the same color, and therefore you can safely just cut that into your project. And what I would highly recommend is that don't trim open those loops, just keep them closed and just fold this directly in half. So going in the same color sequence, just pull through like that, and always go through on the same side the way I just showed you. Okay, so don't be jumping around and deciding to go the other direction, because it'll make a difference in the look. So you just want to pull that loop through and tighten it up. So then I can grab my next one in the sequence. And again, just using the project pinch. This is the fastest way to do it. And knowing that you have to, you can look at the colors and say, you know what, that color is going to come back into play eventually. So it's here and here, so you could do two at the same time instead of having to fumble around with your ogo. That. Once you get it done, fold it in half. And so therefore it can go the next one, and again keep it on the back edge. Pull through, open it up, and just push that through. So these kind of provide that really neat look. You know, people really like dog coats generally that have pets. It's the awe factor at the park. I can tell you that firsthand after being a dog owner now for a year. Great little companion to have, but my word, can they challenge you at times. I won't even get into what happened yesterday. Oh my goodness. So you can just do that. Once you have all of them then established, you can lay it down and then just safely just cut across, and therefore they'll all be the same length. And I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so I just have all this in, and I'm just gonna lay it flat, and I'm just gonna pull all the strands like this, and then I'm just gonna eye it up and just make it look good. So I'm just gonna go across the base here. Let me just zoom you out, it's easier. Trying to complicate my life by moving stuff on my desk. Okay, so I'm just going to roughly eye it up. How long do I want it? And then I can just run my scissors up and do any final trimming that I need to do if I miss anything along the way. So do you see I never cut out the loops, because honestly it's just a waste of your time, because you're gonna have to trim to equal this out anyway. So now that I've all trimmed in, look at that, eh? I can now finally take out my right side stitch marker, and my Happy Camper dog coat is ready to go. And pretty neat, eh? So just check it, make sure there's no extra loops. And to me, it's good to go. Have a good one, and we hope to see you again really soon. And on behalf of my friends at Joanne and Your Inspirations, it's been a pleasure to serve today, and we hope that you have a good one, and happy Camper Dog Coat to you today. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.